Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening. We thank you that truth always prevails. And we're asking, Lord, that you open our hearts and our minds this evening to whatever truths we need to see, whatever we need to understand. Open it to us tonight. In Jesus' name, we ask for blessings and clarity on our speaker and that he shares the things that you want him to share that we need to hear in Jesus' name. Amen. So I welcome Peter Vodenka. Come and join us and give him a hand as he comes.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you heard, my name is Peter Vodenka. I'm going to be telling you a story of my life. My wife, Lily, is with me. She's sitting over there. If you can stand up so everybody can see you. This is the story of our life which happened to us, not to our ancestors. I would like to mention today a special day as far as veterans. And I don't know how many of you over here are veterans, but thank you very much for your service. All your journeys have brought you to this place. All your yesterdays have brought you to this day. And all your tomorrows begin now. Right now, at this moment, that's where your future life is starting and beginning again. Before I go into telling you the story, can everybody hear me okay? Can everybody understand me? It's kind of, I know I have foreign accent. It's kind of a funny story because when we came to America, we have $600 in our pockets. We had 2 little children, owned the clothes on our backs, and we didn't speak any English. And as we are living our life, we were sponsored by church in Beach, North Dakota. There is town of Beach. I don't know why, because there is no water anywhere over there. But it's on Highway 94 just before you cross into Montana. It's pretty much last town on the Highway 94. And when we, like I said, when we arrived over there, we didn't speak English. And as we were living our life, eventually we start communicating with the local peoples. And eventually it got to the point that I was really proud of myself. I thought I speak perfect English. I didn't know I have any foreign accent because I don't hear my accent. When I'm talking to you right now, to me, I sound just like you do. I don't hear any difference. It's not until I'm video recorded or tape recorded when I can hear myself from outside and then I go, wow, this is worse than I thought. And I wish I can turn it on and off, but I can't, unfortunately. But, Americans are very nice and friendly people compared to Europeans and other countries. Americans talking to strangers, they talk to each other all the time. And of course, we have foreign accents, so people are always saying, hey, you have foreign accent, where are you from? And after so many years, it's getting annoying. You're tired, you don't want to explain all the time. So I start coming out with some smart aleck answers. People go, hey, you have foreign accent, where are you from? I say, so I'm from Wisconsin. And anyway, I was born in Communist country of Czechoslovakia. Oops, I need to turn this on, I think. All right. I was born in Communist country of Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia is a small country in the middle of the Europe. And we had borders with East Germany, Poland, Russia, and Hungary. Those were also the part of the Eastern European countries. We were all behind the Iron Curtain. But we also have the border with West Germany and Austria. And since those other countries, on the other hand, were outside the Iron Curtain. They were part of the Western Europe. And since I was 17 years old, I was praying and wishing and dreaming and hoping that one day I'm going to go to America. I learned that people in America have freedoms. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of political beliefs. Those are those big freedoms. We talk about them a lot and we understand them. But there is so many other freedoms which we enjoy over here, which we don't even recognize them as freedoms. People in America can wear the clothes they want. People in America can drive the vehicles they want. People in America can move from place to place, right? You get tired of this northern winters, You want to move to Florida, Arizona, somewhere warmer, you go. You pack your stuff and you move. Only thing which you do usually, you go to post office and tell them, hey, this is my new address, forward me my mail. But you don't even have to do that. We were not allowed to do any of that stuff. So Czechoslovakia, like I said, is a small country. It's about size of South Dakota. But there is 15 million people population over there. South Dakota has about 800,000. Minnesota has about 5 million. So Europe is a lot more congested than America is. And of those 15 million people population, there was about 1 million were members of Communist Party. That was our political party. That was the ruling party which we had. There were no other parties. Because the minute the communists, there were other parties prior to communism, but minute they got to the house, to the government, they outlawed all the other political party. It was highly illegal to belong to anybody else. You could be executed or sent to gulags for life if you belong to any other political party. That way they eliminated all competition. Now they have no competition. And only for the 15 million people population, about 1 million were members of Communist Party. And they were dictating to the rest of us everything what we can say, what we can do, what we can wear, what we can think, or who can get education. For example, we have grade school. My grade school was 9 years. When I graduated from grade school, I was 15 years old. At that time, you can go, you have choice to go either to the factory, which communists would prefer, or you can become the tradesman, or you can go into higher education. Well, I was allowed to go only to the trade. I could become a carpenter, electrician, plumber, but I could not go any higher. That was reserved for the children from trusted communist families. My parents were not members of Communist Party, so my brother and I were not allowed to become the teacher or something higher than regular blue collar. So since I'm 17 years old, like I said, I'm dreaming to go to the United States. But we were pretty much criminals in our own country. You know, our borders were constructed after many different levels. This is the picture of the remaining of the Iron Curtain. But this was just one of the obstacles. The final fence on the border itself was electric fence, 3,000 volts electricity. So if you touch it, you die. But that wasn't enough. So our government have the soldier, they created the watchtowers with the soldiers on it, with the binoculars and machine guns. And they could see the land between them and next watchtower. So every section was watched by 2 teams, but that still wasn't enough. So they have foot soldiers patrolling the borders back and forth on the foot, because many times with the dogs. Because many times the dogs can see more, smell more than we can see. But that still wasn't enough. So they lay the mines on the ground in case somebody's walking around at night, you step on the night, you blow yourself up. But that still wasn't enough. So they keep fortifying it more and more and more until it became Iron Curtain. We used to call it border zone. This is the example of Iron Curtain between the West Germany on the bottom and East Germany at the top. You see that dark light at the bottom, it's border itself. On West German side, there was nothing. People could walk right up to it and touch it. On the East German side, on the other hand, there was 3 miles wide section of the land, which was no man's land. And this was full of the ditches and fences and booby traps and mines and soldiers and lights and white sand and everything you can imagine to stop people from crossing this and getting to the border itself. And that was clearly posted. There were signs hanging over there saying, this is a border zone, you do not enter, you will be shot. So you could be shot and arrested inside your own land, 3 miles before you reach the border itself. And this wasn't to keep us, the other people, from coming into our country. That was to keep us from leaving. So like I said, for 10 years, I am thinking and planning how to get out. And in order for, I know I cannot go this way, I'm gonna die, and I didn't wanna die or get killed or arrested. So I'm thinking there's gotta be the way, because the old saying is, if there is a way, if there is a will, there is a way. So for 10 years, I keep my ears and eyes open. I'm listening and watching and putting the picture together in my head. I'm putting the puzzle in my head. Nobody can think what I'm thinking, know what I'm thinking about, because I could be executed or persecuted for even thinking to leave our country. So after 10 years, I thought I know how to get out. Only difference was by then, I was married. I have 24-year-old wife, 4-year-old daughter, and 2-year-old son. So now I have to take my family across. It's not me anymore, myself anymore. And what I find out was that communist country of Yugoslavia, which was also part of the Eastern European bloc, but their president, the World War II General Marshal Tito, who became president after war, and he became the communist, but he left a little bit more freedom for his people than the rest of us did. He didn't succumb to Russians as much as the rest of the other countries over there. Russians didn't trust them either also. Yes, it was communist, but like I said, they have a little bit more freedoms. And what I find out was that border between Yugoslavia and the Austria to the north, or Yugoslavia and the Italy to the west, is not as tight as our borders. Yes, there's supposed to be fences there too, but there's supposed to be sections of the land which don't even have fences. In the rugged areas, along the swamps and rivers and mountains, just the border guards patrolling it back and forth on the foot. So I'm thinking we're gonna plan it so we go to Yugoslavia, and if we get chance to get there, we will sneak across the border from Yugoslavia to Austria probably in middle of the night. Now, in order for us to go to Yugoslavia, we have to apply with our government to let us leave. We don't need to apply with Yugoslavian government. We have to apply with our government to leave. And we told them we would like to go camping for the summer vacation of 2 weeks of summer vacation in Yugoslavia at the Adriatic Sea. Now we have to fill out the application, and our application has to be approved by government. And what I mean by government, I mean secret police. Our government has 3 major body of controls to keep us citizens in the check. That was military, regular police, and the secret police. Regular police and military people, they wore uniforms. We can recognize them. We know who they were. Secret police didn't. That was the baddest and scariest body of control that our government have. Those were the people who were arresting us, people like us. Those were the people who were torturing people like us in the prison. They also have the spirings around the world. And they were the first institution which have to approve if we are allowed to go to Yugoslavia. And they did. They approve us. But after they approve it, they send it to my employer, local police, city government, county government, and the military. All these institutions have to say that they don't have anything on their documents or something on their knowledge that we should not be allowed to go camping in Yugoslavia. We got approved. Now we're preparing for our departure. We are not going over there camping. Lily and I are only one who knows why we're going over there. We're going over there with the hope we're going to escape. And nobody can suspect and know anything. And about 3 days before our departure, we went to visit our parents and brothers and sisters and said goodbye to them. Those were very emotional goodbyes for us. Because we knew if we do escape, we might not see them ever again. And we have to keep our emotions under control because we don't want them to suspect anything. As a matter of fact, we didn't tell them we're going to Yugoslavia. We told them we're going camping in the Hungary at the Lake Balaton. And the reason why we give them misinformation was we knew that if we do make it across that border alive, they will be interrogated by secret police. And if secret police find out they knew of our plans in any way, they could be persecuted and arrested and end up in the gulags themselves. So we give them misinformation. We told them something else. That way we were hoping that when they are interrogated, they will not need to lie. Because if they knew the Yugoslavia, they would have to lie and say, hey, we didn't know, and it's easy to slip and tell on yourself under pressure. So we told them different thing, and that's all what they know. So 3 days later, we are in our car and we're driving towards the border. Now we are gonna do something really highly illegal. I mean, you can be executed for that. And you kind of feel that everybody can read it on your face. And there were a few things which we have in the car which we are not allowed. We have more money that we were allowed, because when we told our government we're gonna be going, or when government says we are okay to go to Yugoslavia for 2 weeks, they told us how much money we are allowed to take with. And I want to have more money, because I'm thinking our vacation might extend a lot more than 2 weeks, and we don't, who knows what's gonna happen. I felt that we have to have more money. Plus money gives you a little bit more options. So we brought the extra money, more money than we are allowed, and also we have our personal documents. We brought the marriage license, birth certificates, vaccination records. Reason why I want to have those documents with us, I am hoping that if we do make it over there, we're gonna be applying for United States to America, because that's where I wanna be. And if we have these documents with us, then they will know exactly what we are about and who we are, and that might get better chance to be accepted over here. Again, you don't bring those documents on vacation with you. You keep them in the safe place at home. So if they were found in our car, that itself would be pretty much dead giveaway that we are trying to escape. I didn't know where to put that money in those documents, so I put it underneath the spare tire in the trunk, which would be probably the first place they would look at. But I was hoping they're not gonna search our car. So as we coming close to that border, we are very scared. They could stop us, they could arrest us, they could say, hey, we change our mind to going back. They have no limits. But luckily for us, kids were little. And where they were as they fell asleep. And when we stopped at that border, they woke up and they start crying. And it was a good thing this time, because the border guard didn't want to deal with the screaming kids on the back seat, so he stamped our passports and sent us through. So in the evening, we arrived at the Lake Balatan. That was our first destination. It was the end of the day number 1. And next morning, day number 2, we continuing on. Now we have to cross the border from Hungary to Yugoslavia. Still communists on both sides. We were hoping that same situation with the crying kids is gonna repeat. It didn't, but we crossed that border with no problem. And in the evening, we arrived at the town of Rijeka, which was our official destination. Now the second most important step happened. We were in Yugoslavia undiscovered so far. And day number 3, we were driving, we were still kind of winging it. I have some ideas from collecting the information, but you don't know anything really. You're just playing it by ear. So day number 3, we are driving back to north to the Austrian border. And again, I have few ideas how to cross that border. They didn't work out, so we have to come with different plan. And next plan was that we knew there is about 5 border crossings. 5 roads leading from Yugoslavia to Austria. They were, of course, one directional. The Austrian, they could travel back and forth as they pleased. Their government didn't stop them. Yugoslavians, on the other hand, were not allowed to go to Austria. Their government would not let them. And the border crossing, the farthest one to the east, the section of that border where a road crosses it, and the Hungarian border was about 1 mile wide. And that did not supposed to have any fences. Just the border guards patrolling it back and forth on the foot. So I'm thinking this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna time it so we arrive at that place at 2 o'clock in the morning. We're gonna leave our car outside, and we're gonna get on the foot, try to sneak across the border into Austria, circle back to that same road so we don't get lost, and continue in the Austria on the foot until we find a refugee camp or until somebody takes us to refugee camp. We knew there was a refugee camp there, we just didn't know where and how far it is. And we knew that we have to go through it, that's part of the process. As we're driving in the direction of the border, it's 4 o'clock afternoon, and we are already only 40 miles away. And I was afraid to come any closer in the daylight. I was afraid of regular Yugoslavian police patrolling the roads back and forth with the cars. And if they see the East European car with East European license plate, they might stop us, start questioning us, maybe even arrest us. Again, this is hard to understand in America. But we were allowed to be on shortest way from our home to our destination We're not supposed to be anywhere else, especially if we were caught in the neighborhood of that border. We will become suspicious. So I'm thinking we need to hide somewhere. So as we're driving on the road, suddenly there is grassy meadow on the right side, and there is 2 tracks leading across the grass into a patch of the woods in the distance. And we drove over there, and we drove in the woods. And it turned out to be perfect hiding place. There was grassy opening in the middle. There were tall trees and thick underbrush around us. So this is the place we're gonna wait till 1 o'clock in the morning to leave. So we arrive at that border by 2. And of course, now we are waiting over there, and kids are little, and they were cooped up in the car for 4 days. And you know, they have lots of energy. They wanna go around and play and jump and big kids. And we were afraid to let them make too much noise, because first, we are in foreign country. We're speaking totally different language than anybody else. That itself catches people's attention. And second, we didn't want somebody to hear kids screaming in the woods, come over there, investigate what's going on and find us, start asking questions. So we kept them quiet as much as we could. And the evening was coming on, and Lily made some dinner, we ate, and it was time to put kids to bed. We decided we're gonna put them to the bed on the back seat of the car, fully dressed, just take their shoes off. And again, I am thinking about every possible scenario, every detail, everything what can happen that night. I'm thinking we are gonna wake those kids up at 2 o'clock in the morning and drag them out from that warm bed. They're gonna start crying. But we cannot have it this time. There is gonna be Yugoslavian soldiers. We cannot be hurt. But how do you explain what you're planning to do to 4 and 2-year-old child? I sit down with them. And I says, I need you to listen to me. We're gonna put you to bed on the back seat of the car, just like we did the night before. And while we are sleeping, your mom and I are gonna be driving. And in the middle of the night, we will stop the car, we will wake you up, and we have to walk away on the foot. You will be very tired, you will be very sleepy, and you will want to cry. But you cannot cry this time. There might be some bad people there. If they hear us, we can get into trouble. I was afraid to scare them too much with the bad people, but I'm thinking I am scare them now, and that's what's gonna make them cry when they wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and there is darkness with the bad people hiding over there. We put them to bed, and now Lily and I are sitting in that car, and we are waiting for that 1 o'clock in the morning. And we are waiting. And we are waiting. And this is the longest night you can imagine. I want to get going. I'm looking at my watch probably every 15 seconds because it seems like anytime I look at it, it was same place it was before. Waiting is what kills you because you're overthinking everything. You're putting the bad thoughts in your own head. You're scaring yourself. And again, as we are sitting there, once again, for 100 times, I am thinking about every detail, every scenario, every possibility which can happen. So if it does happen, we are prepared for it ahead of time and we know how to deal with it. And there is something I need to talk to Lily about. This subject was in my head for about 3 months now, since I find out we are approved. But I never find the right time, right moment, right words to tell her what I need to tell her. I need to tell her now. I am running out of time. I need to tell her before we arrive at that border. And I says, listen, I know you are scared. And I don't want to scare you even more. But there is one thing we need to be prepared for. One of us might get shot tonight. Or maybe break leg. Or maybe simply just trip and fall down. I says, if something like that happen, that other one has to keep on going. Because if we get caught altogether, that's the end of everything. We heard that our government have automatic 10-year prison sentence for people like us. And because we would become political criminals, we would be serving it in the uranium mines. That's where the politicals were. Mining uranium with the bare hands. Not too many make it out alive, and that's the way the government preferred it, because in government eyes, the political criminals were a lot bigger enemies than the rapists and murderers. And then we heard that they would take our children away and they would raise them in government institution because according to their thinking, because we want to leave our country for better life and better future, obviously we were not raising our children in proper socialistic and communistic ideology. So they would brainwash them in the government institutions. They are little babies, since they are little kids. So I told Lily, if we make it so, if I go down, it is that much more important than you make it across that border. I don't want you to stop. I don't want to check on me. I don't want you to drive me off the ground. Because if one of us make it there, there is still a chance that we can get the rest of the family there, maybe through International Red Cross, maybe through political, religious organization, maybe even through Austrian government. There is still a chance if we get caught altogether, that's it. And on the other hand, I need to understand that if I go down, that's what I am doing. I am not leaving you behind because I don't love you. I'm not leaving you behind because I don't want you. But that's our only chance. So now, of course, she had even more bad thoughts in her head than before. So now she's scared even more. And as we're sitting over there and waiting for the time, it stopped raining. It was raining on and off for 2 days. The rain stopped in the middle of the night, but fog started raising. It was like getting denser and denser. Pretty soon it was heavy fog. I'm thinking, it's gonna take longer for us to drive in this fog. We have to follow the map. We don't know the road. And I don't wanna get lost and arrive at that border too late when it's already daylight, or arrive at the wrong place. So it was 12:30. I says, let's give ourselves more time. Let's do it now. I start the car. We drove out of the woods, across the grass, and now we are on the road traveling north. Now tension in the car eased up a lot. We are busy doing something. I am driving the car. Lily had map on her lap with the flashlight, and she's checking every intersection, every exit, every village, every town we're driving through, making sure that we are on the right road. And as we're driving north, suddenly start drizzling again. It knocked the fog down, so visibility improved. But rain is picking on more and more and more. And after some time, the road turned 90 degrees. And now we're going directly east. Now we're going parallel to the border. But we know we have to exit to the left again. Now, I'm sorry, I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit. I skipped the big part of the story. When we were sitting there and thinking what we're going to do next, we know we have to bring something with us. But what are we going to bring when you're leaving everything what you own behind? What is the most important thing to bring? Until this moment, we were thinking that maybe, just maybe, we're going to make it across that border with our car. And therefore, we're going to have the wheels for the transportation to find the refugee camp. Sleeping bags, camping gear, food and dishes, clothes. Now we decide we're not going to even try. We decided we already left everything what we had behind. Now we're going to walk away from our car and everything what's in it. And I just give you an idea. You know, in America, it's not end of the world. If tragedy happen, somebody's losing their house to the earthquake, fire, flood, something happen. People in America go to rescue. The neighbors, families, churches, group like yours, other organization, people start collecting the money, start rebuilding their house, start collecting food, clothes. They start rebuilding their lives for that family. None of that exists over there, none of it. And everything was very expensive. You know, in America, lots of people say that's too expensive. I'm doing the same thing now. I pick something up, oh, $20, that's too expensive. I put it down. No, everything over here is still actually pretty reasonable compared to our purchasing power. Just to give you an idea, the 1 kilogram of beef meat in the store, in the grocery store, 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds. 1 kilogram of beef, if it was in the store, mostly it wasn't, cost as much money as made for 8 hours labor. So after going to work, after 8 hours, I have enough money in my pocket to go and buy 2.2 pounds of beef and nothing else. Gasoline, again, we were buying in 4 liters. 1 gallon is about 4 liters. It cost me 4 hours of labor to buy 1 gallon of gasoline. So I don't know what's average wage in America, 13, 14, maybe $15 an hour. Imagine it would cost $60 to buy 1 gallon of gasoline. That's how expensive everything was. And then, so we were gonna leave everything behind, but like I said, we need to bring something with. But what is the most important to bring now when you're leaving everything behind? Plus, we're gonna be limited what we can bring. I'm gonna be carrying our boy in my hand, and Lily's gonna be holding our other hand, so we have only one free hand to bring this stuff. So what are you gonna bring? What's the most important? We decided that at this moment we need the spare clothes for the children. You know, they are little. You need the spare clothes for them. So we took we took this bag and stuffed it with the kids' clothes. I was gonna carry it because it was the biggest and most important luggage. I have good shoulder strap on it. Then we decided to take the sleeping bag, one of our sleeping bags. It has its own case with the handle, so it was easier to carry. And the reason why we decided for a sleeping bag, again, we didn't know what's going to happen next. We might be hiding during the day, maybe traveling at night. We need something warm for the children. So Lily was going to have that. And then she have another bag with our camera, extra money, personal documents, and other small stuff. But we know we need to bring something for ourselves also, right? Try to go on vacation try to go to Mexico. Try to go just to Arizona for vacation for 2 weeks and bring nothing. Not toothbrush, not spare socks, not underwear, nothing. And we were going somewhere, we don't know where, who knows how for long. So we are thinking it, but we have no more free hands to carry anything for ourselves. So we thought about that a lot, and we figure out that we're gonna put on everything double, from socks to underwear, pants and shirts. That way we can carry the spare clothes for ourselves without occupying our hands. That was when and then we had it all set up in that car and lined up, and we were dressed that way. That's when we were waiting in that forest. So now I'm gonna fast forward a little bit to the point when I stopped before. So we saw the exit saying Austria. So we exit, and now we are driving towards to the border again. And we start judging the distance on our map, how close we are to that border. And we are guessing we have about 8 miles to go yet. And suddenly the road turn left, half circle around some obstacles in front of us. And when we came on the other side, there it was. There was border right there. There is gate across the road. There is soldier with AK-47 on his chest. And there is this street light lighting this up. And we thought we have 8 miles to go yet. So this totally shocked us. So I stopped the car. I didn't know what to do. And I put the car in the reverse and disappeared from his sight. And I parked the car somewhere off the road. And I told Lily, stay over here. I'm going back there. I'm going to go back there on the foot. I'm going to see what I can see. So she locks the door behind me. And I'm walking there on the foot. And I can hear my own footsteps on the blacktop. I didn't want him to hear me coming, so I jump in the ditch. I'm sneaking through the grass and bushes and brush. I'm coming as close as I dare. I squat down. I'm studying the situation in front of me. And rain is just pouring down now. And what I see, behind that border, behind that soldier, I can see the road enters the forest. And through the trees in the distance, I can see another street light. I'm assuming that's Austrian guardhouse. And on the right side, before that gate, there was a small house, small building with the lights in the windows, but I could actually hear people talking over there. So I know there is minimum 2 more soldiers inside that building. And in front of that building, there was car with the border guards marking on the door. And on the right side, there was dirt road full of the potholes and mud disappearing into the fields and out of the circle of the light. And as I'm looking at this, My heart is just racing in my chest. This guy is not standing too far away from me. And I know he has the orders to stop, shoot people like us for any means, or stop us for any means, or any cost. And then I realized this is it. Most of my adult life, for 10 years, I was praying and hoping and dreaming that one day I'm going to be somewhere at the border. I'm going to be looking across it. I'm going to be ready to cross that border into the freedom and the safety and freedom. And that I realized this is it. This is the border. This is the time when it's going to happen. I didn't know if I will ever find this place. I didn't know if I will even know how that place is. I didn't know how it's going to look like. And I know I have to get my wife and my children across that light, circle of the light, into the darkness behind this guy, safely and alive. And I didn't know what to do. I know I cannot just run at him. He's going to shoot us. I didn't know what to do. So I start praying to God again. My brain almost got caught off in something between. I'm forcing my mind to engage again. I'm telling myself, think, start thinking what can happen again. Start thinking what you do. I'm asking God to show me the way, to tell me what to do. I'm forcing myself to think. And as I'm thinking about what can happen and what's probably going to happen, I realize that inside of next hour, within 1 hour, one of the 3 scenarios is going to happen. Either we're going to be laying on the ground bleeding from the gunshots, or we will be in the handcuffs and starting the dreadful way back home and shackles in the future. Or we will be free. I didn't know which one of those scenarios is going to happen, but every one of them is going to change our life forever. I keep saying that we live 2 lives, and that was the exact moment when our first life was ending, and new life was about to begin. And that new life is any one of those 3 scenarios is going to be going totally different direction. Nothing will be same ever again. There was one more thing I could have done. I could give up. I could go back to our car, tell Lily, hey, it's too dangerous. I don't know how to get around this guy. We don't want to die. We could drive back to sea, spend 2 weeks vacation, and then come back home as if nothing happened. We coming back from vacation, no big deal. That thought never crossed my mind, which turned out to be lucky. Because unknown to us at this moment, the secret police back home already found out of our plans, and they were already hunting for us. So had I made the decision, we would come to our borders, and we would be immediately arrested, and our kids would be taken away from us. And we might never see them or each other ever again. I walked back to the car. I told Lily, this is it. Let's do it now. So let's wake the kids up. She woke the kids up, put the shoes on them. We reminded them they cannot cry. They were dizzy and confused, sleepy. And I started the car, and now we are going back in the direction. Only this time we know what's waiting around the corner. And when we came around this turn, now we are driving directly towards the guy with that AK-47 on his chest. And I'm expecting him to swing that rifle down and start shooting at us anytime. You know, you got to understand, we were raised in the police country. As crazy as it sounds, we are not afraid of criminals. We are scared of police. Just the sight of the man in uniform or police car on the street, raise your heartbeat and tie your stomach in the knots. And now we're driving directly towards this guy, and I am just scared. But I'm telling myself, calm down. He's looking directly into my headlights right now. He cannot see the model or the license plate of the car yet. And as we coming closer in the last minute, I turned the dirt road. And now we are slipping and sliding and driving into the fields. And the thought which came to my head was, hey, they already know we are here. Our cover's already blown. So I'm going to drive for some time on the dirt road, stop the car, and we're going to hustle to the left and hopefully cross that border before anybody realizes what's going on. And as we are slipping and sliding on that mud, on the left side where we need to go, there is something growing in the field, and it was about chest deep, chest high. and the rain is just coming down in the sheets now. I'm thinking this is gonna be hard for us to walk on it. Our daughter's gonna be on the foot, it's taller than her head. Plus it's muddy, it's raining for 2 days. So I'm driving farther and farther and farther, hoping that something's gonna change. And it did, it changed. That field stopped. A new field started. Something was just sprouting out of the ground. And there was about 10 feet wide grassy strip separating those two fields and going in the right direction. I'm thinking this is gonna be solid enough for us to walk on it. So I stopped the car, shut the lights off, turned the engine off, left the keys in ignition. We opened the door, we opened the back door, grabbed the kids, grabbed the bags, and we start walking on this grassy strip, which we cannot see because it's pitch black night. I can feel it with to be solid under my feet. And with all my thinking and planning and preparing and thinking about every scenario, every detail, there was one thing I never thought about, and that's a dome light. When you open the door, the light goes on automatically. And they were watching. They see the car driving into the fields. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. And when we opened the door, they must have seen us taking the bags and the kids and figure out that we're going to take the run for the border, make the run. We make about 5-10 steps away from that car. And that lit up guardhouse behind us in the distance just erupted with the activities. Voices start screaming commands. Dogs start barking. The car engine roars. The car is coming, slipping and sliding in our direction. We can see somebody carrying the spotlight, leaving that building and moving across. I'm thinking this guy is running along the border. He's trying to get us off. So I look behind me in the darkness and I hoarsely whisper, run as fast as you can. And I took off running. And first time running with everything what I got, because now we are getting pursued. Our only chance is to cross that border before they come close. But I am realizing that I can run a lot faster than my wife and my 4-year-old daughter can. So I'm slowing down, trying to force myself to run slower. I don't want us to get separated and lose each other now. And as we are running on this grassy strip, with every breath, with every cell in my body, with every step, I am praying and wishing for the woods. Because when I was looking at the gate earlier, I saw the forest behind the gate. I'm thinking if we make it to the forest, we're going to be on the other side of the border. And in the meantime, the car stopped behind our car. And there is 2 more spotlights on our trail. And they are closing in. They could run a lot faster than we could. They didn't have little children. And they knew exactly where we are because of location of our car and the grassy strip. But luckily for us, that rain is coming down like torrential rain at this moment. And those spotlights are reflecting on the rain. They knew we are there, they just couldn't see us at this time. Thanks to the rain, it's protecting to reach our bodies. But it's just a matter of the time. And as we're running, suddenly there is no ground under my feet, and I'm falling head first in the darkness, landed in the water. I stood up. Luckily, the water was only knee deep. I pick up my son up because that fall now gave my grasp. I pick him up. He wasn't crying. The bag which I have on the shoulder seconds ago, it wasn't there, but I can feel it right next to my foot. I pick up the bag, I waded through water, and there is hill on the other side. We are going up this wet, slippery, soggy hills as fast as we can. I cannot see it, but I know it's there. Because we need to get in the woods. We need to find the woods. In the meantime, I'm listening to the sounds of my wife and my daughter behind me. And there is nothing there. I'm thinking she heard me splashing down below. And she's afraid to get there. So I am hoarsely whispering, there is water here, but don't worry about that. Get in the water. It's only knee deep. Still no splashing. So I'm panicking. I'm saying, get in the water. Get in the water. They are coming. Get in the water. You know, what I'm telling you right now, when that happened, it happened. We didn't discuss it then. We didn't talk about that actually for years. And then one time we were telling somebody that story, and when I got to this point, Lily's telling me, well, I don't know why you were telling me to get in the water. She says, I was right next to you. You are telling me get in the water. I'm thinking, why I'm right here? I had no clue. No clue how she made it across that water without me hearing anything. We get to top of the hill a little bit farther, and there is forest about right from here to that wall. There is forest. So now we bolted into the woods. But we are not slowing down. First, I don't know for sure if this is a border. And second, I don't know if they're going to stop, even if it is the border. And anytime something's holding me back, because the black pitch night, I am breaking through it. Branches, brush, anything. I'm just breaking through it with my chest because I cannot see how to dodge it, how to run around it anyway. I'm just hoping that I'm not going to run in the tree trunk with my face and my son's face. At one time, my son started crying in my hands. And I says, remember, this is what I was telling you yesterday. You cannot cry right now. And he stopped. Immediately he stopped. It wasn't until daylight next morning when we saw he had pretty good scratch on his face. This is after it was all clean and washed, but it was really bad. It looks like it was really mess, bloody mess. We thought that they shot it as he got grazed by the bullet. Then we clean it up, find out luckily it's just the scratch. But that's probably when he started crying. He got hit and cut by some branch. And when I told him to stop, we talked about this yesterday, he stopped, just a little bit older than a baby. I couldn't imagine what could be going through those little kids' heads, being woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, dragged out from the warm bed into downpour, being chased through the night, fall in the darkness on his head in the water, and then get hit and got cut in the face and stop. And I was telling you cannot cry right now. At that moment, still on the run, I look behind me. Because we are in the woods and I'm hoping they stopped. And I'm looking directly into those spotlights and I can see just streams of the water coming out. I can see thick foliage and leaves. And it looked to me like those lights are in the forest. And my heart just froze in my chest. And I look behind me in the darkness hoping my wife is there. I didn't know. And I hoarsely whisper, they didn't stop. They are still following us. Throw everything away so we can move faster. And I throw that back away. And we could pushing on. And after some time, we realized there was nobody there. We lost them. No more lights. No more dogs barking. No more voices. Just dark, pitch black night. So we slow down. We catch up with each other, huddle together, catch our breath. And then we start veering to the left. I want to find that road which we left earlier. Because I don't want to get lost somewhere, circle through the woods and end up back at the border. So I'm thinking we need to find that road. So we're going in the direction we are thinking the road is. And we come to the edge of the forest after some time. And there is grassy meadow in front of us, about the size of the parking lot out there. And there is road, the same road which we left before. And I don't want to leave protection of the woods yet, so we stop. And I'm looking at the situation. I'm thinking, did we make short circle and we are right behind the Yugoslavian guardhouse? Or did we make big circle and we are behind the Austrian guardhouse? And I'm kicking myself in the butt because I didn't educate myself enough. I didn't know how either one of those countries' flag looked like. I asked Lily if she knew and she didn't know either. So we still don't know if we are there or not. I guess our hearts and our brains didn't catch up with each other yet. And again, as I'm thinking what to do next, Lily is thinking about the children. She says, you know, look at those kids. I mean, we couldn't see each other. We knew of each other's presence. We couldn't see each other. She says, the kids are all wet and cold. They're going to get pneumonia. She says, give me the bag. I need to put the clothes on, dry clothes on them. I says, what bag? She says, the bag with the kids' clothes. I says, I don't have it. She says, how come you don't have it? You're supposed to take it from the car. That was your job to take the bag from the car. I says, I know. I throw it away when I told you to throw everything away so we can move faster. She says, well, I didn't throw my bags away. So luckily, she still have that sleeping bag. We lay it on the ground, strip the kid naked, put them in the bag, and they'll fall asleep. Now, this happened on June 21st. This is night of June 21st, 1983. The shortest night and longest date. And one thing happened, we crossed that border. That downpour stopped. It didn't slow down or fade away, it stopped. For 2 days it was raining. And when we are coming closer to that border, it's pouring more and more and more until we are running and it just downpour and it stopped. Almost as if God turned it off because its protection was no more necessary for us. And immediately there were stars everywhere. There was one of those early summer mornings. We haven't seen sun for 2 days. And suddenly there are just hundreds, thousands of stars just shining and sparkling over our heads. And as I'm thinking what to do next, suddenly I'm thinking, daylight is going to start coming pretty soon. We need to get out of here. We need to get away from here and as far from here as we can. We don't know if Yugoslavians are still looking for us or not. So now in the hurry, I'm telling Lily, let's go, we have to go. She says, yeah, but what we going to do with the kids? I says, I'll carry them. So I grabbed the sleeping bag with both kids. I threw them over my shoulder. I couldn't believe how heavy those kids were. I couldn't carry them. We have to weigh them up, to the wet, cold clothes and shoes back on them. And they were still not crying. They were whining, but they were not crying. We cross the meadow, we get on the road, and now we are walking away. And like I said, this is early, one of those very crisp and clear early summer, fresh mornings after that horrible night. And there were no town or anything. We are somewhere out in the country. But as we walking on the road, on the right side, there is a couple farmhouses, typical German structures with the wooden decoration carved underneath the roofs and around the windows and doors. And they have flowers in the pots outside in the trays outside the windows. They have flowers in the fences, flowers in the garden. We walk by one of these buildings, it's structural, and door open, and this old grandpa come out with a wooden milk bucket. And he walk in the barn next door, he's going to milk his cow. And when he opened the door, the cow moves. And everything was, now we can see more and more and more, and now everything was just so pretty and so peaceful and colorful. We could not believe how colorful everything was. And for the first time in our life, we realized that we were living in colorless country. In communism, everything is gray, everything is run down, everything is half broken. So we couldn't believe the colors. And now all those sights, all those colors, and everything what we saw around us finally dawned on us that we made it. The dream which I have for most of my adult life, I didn't really think it's going to come true. It came true. And nobody was missing. Nobody was seriously hurt. We had nothing. Everything we owned was in our hands and our bags. But we were free for the first time in our lives. We were free. When we don't need to worry about the government. And our spirits were just floating on the clouds. And as we walking away, I'm thinking, how are we going to find or how are we going to get to refugee camp, what to do next? Lily, of course, she's mother, so she's thinking still about those kids. Now we can see them. She says, look at those poor little kids. They are all muddy and wet. She says, who knows when we're going to get with the roof over our heads? It might take days or weeks before I can wash their clothes. She says, we need the clothes with the bag with their clothes. Or what I can do is to shrug my shoulder. Well, I threw it away. I'm sorry. I threw it away. But she keeps saying, look at those poor little kids. Look at them. You need to go back and find that bag, she told me. And first I says, are you crazy? I'm not going back there. There's no way I'm going back there. And then more and more I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking, yes, I do need to go back. Yes, I need to find it. And if I'm going, I need to go now before we get too far away from the border and before it gets total daylight. I says, okay, so I'll wait over here. And when the police come, because we were hoping that Austrian police is going to come and take us to refugee camp. And we were used to see police all the time. So we were thinking it's just a matter of short time. I says, when they come, you have to explain to them somehow that I'm here too. They have to wait for me to come back, because if they hold you away, I don't know how would I find you. We didn't speak German, of course. She says, okay. So she sits in the ditch, kids collapse on her lap, fall in sleep, and I'm walking back there. Now my heart is starting to raise the beat again in my chest. I'm going back to the darkness. I'm going back to the dictatorship government which executes their own people for nothing. I'm going back to the bad place. I'm thinking, how am I going to find the bag which I drop in middle of the night, in middle of the forest, which happened to be green color? I'm thinking, there is no way I can find that bag. And then I got the idea. If I come back to the edge of the forest where we originally entered it, I should be able to see the difference between those two fields. And I should be able to line myself up approximately with the direction we were running. So now I'm sneaking through the woods. Now sun is up. You know, we have those first golden rays just shooting through the trees in the angle. And I got as close to the edge as about from me to this wall, and I stopped because I didn't want to get out of the woods. And I can see outside the trees, I can see the foot-beaded path by the Yugoslavian soldiers. In the distance through the trees, I can see that Yugoslavian guardhouse. But what I cannot see is those two fields, because now in the daylight, I saw how that border looked like. When we were running on that grassy strip, there was a hill about 10 feet high. It went down deep into the ditch, filled with the water, back up another hill. Then it was opening, and there was the forest. So I can see that first hill. I can even see the second hill, but I cannot see over them. They are taller than I am. I would have to expose myself, get out, slide into the water, ford that water, climb that second hill, and look where those two fields are. I'm thinking, you know what, I'm not going to risk this. I'm not going to risk to get shot now or arrested now. We made it once. I'm not going to risk. And how if they arrest me, how long is my wife going to sit in the ditch with my children before she realizes I'm not coming back? And then what she's going to do? So I'm thinking, yeah, we're going to find a way. You know, we have to do it without the bag. We will find a way. So I turn around and I'm walking away from that border for a second time. And I walk about 100 yards. And that bag was laying right in front of me. It was there just like this. I never forget the sight. The bag was laying over there, upside. It wasn't tipped over or anything. And in the middle of the bag, there was snail, brown snail, about nickel-sized snail with the cream color spiral on it. And I can see a little slimy trail when that snail climbed that bag up. And the trail ended behind that snail, which was almost exactly in the middle of it. And there was like 1/8 of the inch slimy trail just shining and sparkling like band of silver in those first sun rays. And that sight of it, and knowing I found that bag, and knowing that we made it, all that strength which I have in my body just left me. I want to collapse to my knees and start thanking God right there. I didn't. That border was right behind me. I forced myself to grab that bag and run out there as fast as I could. Well, I'm going to shorten it up a little bit, or, yeah, something like I can talk for another 2 hours, but... 2 days later, we end up in a refugee camp. This picture we downloaded from the internet. It actually looks pretty. It didn't. It was a very scary, scary place. It used to be old military camp with the number of buildings and streets and avenues, fence all the way around it. And the Austrian government was not using it for military anymore. They were using it for the refugee camp. When we got over there, it was just covered with the garbage. It was scary and messy place. There were people from different countries, different nationalities, different customs, different languages. Mostly single men. There was one main building, was 4-story high, big building, and at night, that's where they were housed. At night, we could hear them drinking and throwing the alcohol bottles out through the closed windows. There was littered with garbage and feces and everything else. Scary place. I wouldn't let my wife and my children farther than arms away. But we had to go that way. There was no other choice. That was part of the process. When we were in refugee camp, we fill out the applications for United States of America. We have to write our life history. That was all translated and sent over to U.S. Consul in Vienna. U.S. Consul called us for interview. That lasted about 45 minutes with translator, of course, because we didn't speak English. And then ambassador decided that we are okay to go to America. They sent us to doctor, make sure we are all healthy and disease-free, I assume. But then we still couldn't leave unless we have the sponsor in America. We went through a refugee camp in 2.5 months. According to people there, that was the all-time record. Nobody went through it that fast. When we got there were people there for 2 years already. There were people who committed suicide. There were people who turned to alcoholism. Because some people were getting denied. There was something in their background which those countries, because we have to apply for the countries which we're not gonna go, but it doesn't mean that country is gonna accept you. So there were people who were applying for Australia, and they got denied, so they apply again, denied, apply again, denied, apply again, denied, then apply for America, denied, apply for Canada, denied. So some of them were there, and if you are living in this refugee camp, you're living between the lives. None of us can go back to our old life, but you cannot start your new life over there. You're spinning the wheels. You're waiting, constantly waiting for the paperwork. And some people, every morning, they wake up with the hope that today is the day my paperwork is going to come through. And every night, that hope died. So some people didn't make it. Some people killed themselves. Some people were approved to go, but there was nobody sponsoring them, so they still were not allowed to come over here. Because they don't just let you get out of plane and here go live your new life. Somebody has to be waiting for you. Usually single people have more problems to get sponsored than family with the children. Unknown to us, reason why it took that short time, the people in the church decided to sponsor family from Czechoslovakia with little children. Reason why they went family from Czechoslovakia, because these two older ladies, they were sisters and they were Czech descendants and they still spoke fluently Czech. So they figured out somebody's gonna be able to communicate with us. So pastor called immigration office in Fargo and said, we're gonna sponsor family from Czechoslovakia with little children. They checked the computer and we came up. So unknown to us, we have sponsored before we went for interview with U.S. Council. So once we were approved, we have open door pretty much to come. This picture was taken for a local newspaper, happened to be on September 11. We came to beach on September 8. So you can see how young we were and how little those kids were. These were our first baby steps in starting and building a new life here in America. We made it. There was many of those who did not make it. Nobody will ever find out how many people died trying to cross those borders or were caught and disappear in the communist prison, in the gulags and labor camps. Our government purposely didn't keep up the track about that. This was all hidden. This information didn't exist. Because according to their propaganda, the communism and socialism is the best system there is in the entire world. According to their propaganda, people are supposed to be trying to get in, breaking fences to get in, to live the promised life. Not dying, risking their lives to get out. That didn't fit the picture which they were painting. So nobody will ever find out how many people died or perished. Our story happened in 1983. In 1989, the Iron Curtain came down. And our new government, not communist anymore, erected this monument. This monument stands in the middle of the Prague, capital city. And this is monument to victims of communism. This is incredible structure because you can see that's a human being. And a little bit farther, the human being is slowly falling apart, cracking and falling apart until there is nothing left. That's exactly what was happening to us. The communists didn't want people, individual thinking. They want everybody to be like a sheep, brainwashed sheep. They tore the churches down. They didn't want people to go to churches because if people go to the churches, we are safe, like-minded. And they were afraid of it. They are afraid of our people plotting against them all the time. They were very, suspicious and nervous people on top of their power. So this is fantastic because, like I said, this destroyed all the human individuality, and those who disappear in communist prison slowly faded, away from their families. Interesting thing is that, we over here, us, you and I, we have United States Constitution. That Constitution is incredible document. Those are the God's given right to us. Our founding fathers put it in the word and on the paper so everybody understands it and knows about that. And those freedoms which it gives us, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of political belief, freedom of assembly, freedom of having the weapons, all this stuff. Every article, every amendment which gives us the right was highly, highly illegal over there. Freedom of speech? Oh, no. Not only that we couldn't say anything or we could be arrested, they have the law that we can be persecuted for our thoughts. So if government decided you are too dangerous, we need to take care of you, they accuse you of blowing the bridge up, trying to overthrow the government, trying to escape Czechoslovakia. And you would be persecuted just like you actually did the crime, even if you never have even thought about that. Freedom of religion, like I said, they tore the churches down. They didn't want religion. Freedom of assembly. More than 6 people together could be arrested. That would give them right to burst into organization like we are over here and haul us away. There were few Catholic churches left that gave them right to actually go to the church and arrest people over there if they wanted to. Unless you were family members, you're not supposed to have 6 people, more than 6 people together. Freedom of arms, gun rights, no. They were scared of people who have guns. So they took care of that also. I will tell you a little bit how later. Our story happened already. It's going to be actually 40 years next year. We risk everything we have, including our lives, to be free here in America. We left everybody we love behind to have the freedoms and opportunities. We left everything what we work for to be free in America and to be able to look at that American flag and say, this is our flag now. You know, we knew how American flag looked like. You see it during the different Olympic Games or world competitions when there are flags from different countries hanging over there. And the American flag is always most prettiest one. Even our enemies know it. It's the most beautiful flag. But until then, it was the American flag. And now it is our flag too. And still today, 40-some years, 30-some years later, when Lily and I go to some sport event or something somewhere, when somebody's standing and singing the Star-Spangled Banner, we still cry today. Because we can feel that they are playing our anthem too. We risk everything. We were not born over here. We risk everything over here to be here. All what we want is we wanted your life. You know, you might look at this yourselves, go, what? My life? My life sucks. You know, why would you want my life? You know, there is nothing special about my life. No, it's not true. All what we want is to have your freedoms and your opportunities. We came over here just like your ancestors. They may or may not speak English when they came over here. They may or may not have little children. All their possessions was in their bags. We came just like them, maybe 100 years later, but for the same reason, to have the freedoms and opportunities which this country gives to people. It gives you opportunities. You can go and succeed. I do speak in the church, in the schools a lot. Not a lot. I would like to speak a lot, but sometimes I speak in the schools. And I tell the kids, sky is still a limit over here. You can go as far as you want. You want to be firefighter, you're going to be a policeman, you're going to be teacher, you're going to be doctor. Go after your dream. Just work for it. You still have the freedom to achieve it. There is nobody here who's going to say, no, you are as high as you are allowed. That's it. You cannot go any higher. Freedom is very, very interesting thing. You know, it's easy to say, hey, it was like this when I was little. It's going to be like this forever. No. We see the freedoms disappearing and sifting through our fingers. We are here for 39 years. I can see the differences from the freedoms which we have 30 years ago and what we have now. Every day, today, we have less freedoms than we have yesterday. And tomorrow, we're going to have less freedoms than we have today. They're taking our freedoms away. Governments is taking our freedoms away. And freedoms is taken away from people usually by 2 means. Either government chip it away slowly, just keep chipping it away like we experience all the time. Only right now they are a lot more gutsy and they're chipping it a lot faster. or the freedom is taken away from people by political coup, military coup, which can happen a lot faster. If we ever lose freedom in America, we have no place to go. We cannot live here to be free somewhere else because there isn't somewhere else. We have to keep what we have. Even Canada or Australia, which are closest to us probably by living standards, they still are so much farther socialist than we are. We need to understand that. We need to send the signal, and we need to, and the politicians know, hands out of our Constitution. It's not yours. It wasn't written for presidents. It wasn't written for Washington, D.C. or senators or representatives. That was written for people to be safe from who? Oppressive government. So we need to send them signal. Hence our Constitution. It's not yours to massage it, change it, ignore it, or destroy it. It's not yours. I give you an example, how fast some freedom can disappear. We see it in neighborhood Cuba. Cuba was like American territory almost. And then Fidel Castro came to power. And within 1 month, they lost all the freedoms. And 50-some years later, they are still not free. We saw it in Chile, Venezuela, other countries. We saw it in Eastern Europe. Communists in my country came to power in 1947. I wasn't born yet. But the World War II raged. World War II was, of course, horrible, but World War II ended. And then somebody drew the line across the Europe and said, this is the West and this is the East. And these people in the East lost all the rights, all the human rights and everything else. You know how long it took in my country for communists to take over? The Europe was, different languages, yeah, but, similar standards, similar living, standards, similar customs. In my country, it went like, everything was like here in America, capitalism, free enterprise, private ownership, just like what we know over here. It took 1 week. 1 week to transfer the whole country from systems which we have over here to nothing. They confiscated everything what people own. They confiscated farmers' land and animals. They confiscated factories, restaurants, apartment buildings, everything what was owned by people, just like over here. Somebody owns the mechanical shop. Everything was confiscated. And those who used to own it, and many times they may be in the family for 3-4 generations. If they were lucky enough, they end up working for low wage on the assembly line in their own factory, like everybody else. But most of the time they kill those people because they already have certain leadership, and communists didn't want to be those people standing up. 1 week, and for 40 years, in Russia for 70 years, there was nothing. Darkness, suffering, pain. We need to be aware of it. Lily and I are scared more maybe than you guys are because what we see coming out. We left that dark, dangerous, stinky cloud which was hanging over our lives all the time. We left that behind, and now it's coming over here. It's building over here. We are scared. This is horrible. This is horrible. We are gonna lose this. We need to fight. We need to pray. We need to fight the battle. Like I said, our story happened 39 years ago. This is our daughter. She graduated from college with degree in graphic design and got married, and she has 6 children. Our son joined United States Marines after he finished high school. He was mobilized and sent over to Iraqi war. He was sent to deserts of Kuwait before the war started. There was Camp Matilda, which was just tent city built by our military and about 1 mile from Iraqi border. And when order came to march on the Baghdad, he was on very tip of Marine column. We were scared. Our soldiers are marching into something. We didn't know what they're marching into, what they gonna, minefields, we didn't know what's gonna happen. But we were so proud of him that by him serving this wonderful country of ours, he bring our life the full circle. You know, he give it more meaning somehow. He is back home. He's safe. He's owning his own business. For 20-some years, people were telling me, you need to write a book. You need to go and you need to talk to people. They need to hear your story. I says, yeah, how am I going to write a book when I don't even speak proper English? And then we have a friend of ours, she says, I can help you with it. So she was changing my English into better English. We did this book without any professional help. We did everything ourselves. The cover is painted by our daughter. I asked her, I says, you know, this is what I have vision to be on the cover. So I told her approximately what I'm looking for, and she painted it. Other than she says, I'm not going to do the fence and watchtower, so I had to do that one myself. We have the book with us over here. You know, that story which I was telling you, if we combine it together, it probably covers about 15 to 20 pages. That book has 314 pages. So there is a lot more, which I don't even have time to go close to it and stuff. So if anybody interested, we're selling the book for $20. We have it outside by the exit.